Dallas, the Georgia Peach, the gorgeous goat herself, your host with the most. Coming back at you with my guy, Paul Wallis, from the fifth kind. This is Fair Use. Mr. Wallace, me and him exchanged, uh, had some exchanges. He knows that from time to time that I present some of his material over here because he told me to be, the YouTube might give me a copyright strike, but I do have his permission to use it. So if you have any problems, please take it up with Mr. Paul Wallace. Fifth kind. This is fair use, fair use. Copyright disclaimer warning. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder, although he did give me permission. I got to find that message because it's been a while since he gave it to me. This is called fair use for the purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and prodding, which doesn't infringe on copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. I repeat, this is fair use. Now, this is my guy, Paul Wallace, the fifth kind.
I've been a preacher for more than 30 years. I've studied and taught through the book of Genesis many, many times in churches all around the world. And I've trained pastors in the skills of interpreting text. There are a plethora of powerful entities in the Hebrew scriptures bumping up against each other in competition for resources and hegemony. And they do have geographical bases. So we have the El of Egypt, Achech. We have the El of the Amorites. We have the El of your ancestors when they lived in Mesopotamia. We have the El of Ekron, and that crazy competition between Yahweh and the El of Ekron, the powerful one of Ekron. There's a moment in Daniel chapter 10 when Michael, the powerful one, the warrior, shows up and says, I had a terrible time getting here because I had to go into battle with the powerful one of Persia. And so they're all associated with geographical areas. So if you've got El of Ekron, El of Persia, it would make sense. We might have El of the mountains or El of the plains. And again, it reinforces this picture of human colonies governed over by their powerful ones, and the humans being sent out to war against each other on behalf of the powerful ones, conflicting with one another over Project Earth and Project Humanity.
For hundreds and thousands of years, people around the world have turned to the Bible for information about God. Two scholars, Mauro Bellino and Paul Wallis, argue for a radically different interpretation. Seeking out the root meanings of key words in these ancient texts, they find another, quite different story emerges. One with enormous implications for our understanding of the human race and our place in the universe. For more than 2 millennia, readers have interpreted the ancient texts of the Bible as stories of God, a seamless narrative in which God creates the heavens and the earth, botanical and animal life, and eventually the human race. However, a number of anomalies in the texts, along with intriguing questions of translation, point to another possibility. Paul Wallis is an internationally best-selling author, researcher, and scholar of ancient mythologies. Over the last decade, Paul's work has probed the world's mythologies and ancestral narratives for the insights they hold on our origins as a species and our potential as human beings. As a senior churchman, Paul served as a church doctor, a theological educator, and an archdeacon in the Anglican Church in Australia. Paul's work in church ministry has included training pastors in the interpretation of biblical texts. His work in biblical translation and interpretation has revealed a forgotten layer of ancient story. with far-reaching implications for our understanding of human origins and our place in the cosmos. Mauro Biglino is an internationally best-selling Italian author, researcher, and highly regarded scholar of ancient Hebrew. For many years, he worked for Rome's St. Paul Press as a Bible translator, providing with great precision the literal meaning of Hebrew words for Vatican-approved interlinear Bibles. It is an exacting discipline. The scholar must be rigorous in avoiding any kind of interpretation of the word and give only the literal etymological meaning of each word part. Mauro's findings set him at odds with the conventional expectations of the Catholic world and propelled him onto the international stage where his work has opened up a world of cultural memory recorded in the Bible, yet hidden from the public for centuries by mistaken translation and the dogmas of the Church. Together, Mauro and Paul show that the root meanings of a series of key words in the Bible reveal an earlier layer of information very different to the story of God associated with the Bible. Hidden in plain sight in the pages of Genesis is an even more ancient narrative, one which reframes the whole story of human beginnings.
Good morning to all. Paul and I continue with the suggestions for reading the Bible in a respectful way and out of any discussion on translations. Today's suggestion is about the term Almighty that appears a few times in the Old Testament. The first time is in Genesis 17, when one of the Elohim presents himself to Abraham and says to him, I am God the Almighty, walk before me and be perfect. I will place my covenant between you and me, etc., etc. The other times it is mentioned in Genesis 28, 35, 43, 48, 49, in Exodus 6, in Numbers 24, in Ruth 1, in Psalms 68 and 91, in Job 5, in Joel 5, in Isaiah 13, Ezekiel 10. Most of the times is it therefore mentioned in Genesis, so let's go and examine it. So, I'm God the Almighty. In Hebrew it says, El Shaddai, with the dot that doubles the letter D. What the exegesis of the Jerusalem School of Bible Studies says, this is the Jerusalem Bible, and it says exactly that. The Common Omnipotent Translation, followed by the CEI Bible, that is the Italian Episcopal Conference, is inaccurate. The text says Almighty. The note says it is a wrong translation. The meaning of Shaddai is uncertain. God of the mountain has been proposed according to the Akkadian Shadu. It would be preferable to interpret God of the steppe according to the Hebrew Sade and according to another meaning of the Akkadian word. So the text says omnipotent. The note below says that omnipotent is wrong and could mean either El of the mountain, because translating El with God is also an artificial translation. El of the mountain, or better still, El of the steppe. I remind you that Paul and I talked extensively about the terms El and Elohim in our previous videos. You understand that between El of the mountain, El of the steppe, and Almighty, there is a big difference. It is enough to read the Bible to understand that Yahweh was anything but omnipotent. Just read a few books is enough to read a few books of the Bible to understand how many are the limitations of Yahweh. God must necessarily be Almighty, therefore Almighty must also be there somewhere. But if these two elements of uncertainty weren't enough, I had a third, and the third is this. Some dictionaries, such as Brown Driver Briggs, one of the most important in Biblical Hebrew, connect the term Shaddai with the verbal root Shaddad. That has a precise meaning. It is connected to the concept of violence. It says the meaning is to act with violence, to devastate, to ruin. This other dictionary of Biblical Hebrew, regarding the verb shaddad, translates to devastate, to massacre, to destroy, and so on. As you can see, all meanings related to violence. And for what it concerns the term Shaddai, it says divine name still uncertain. Divine name, obviously, because it refers to El, which is artificially translated with God. So, if we take this meaning, there is a consideration to make. This El, who presents himself to Abraham, could have said to him, he could, obviously, I am a violent El, so be careful what you do. Walk in front of me and be perfect. This statement could really be understood as a warning. Dear Abraham, be careful what you do because I am violent. In fact, it is enough to read the Bible to understand that these meanings that we have read, that is extermination, devastation, etc., were normal for Yahweh. Just think of the genocides, infanticides were committed in the Bible to understand that these could also be one meaning among those possible. However, the goal of these videos with Paul is not to find a meaning, to contrast the meanings, but to read the Bible in a respectful way, avoiding any useless discussion because the meaning is uncertain. And then we avoid useless discussions. When we find omnipotent or almighty in English, we write Shaddai and we read it like this without asking ourselves what it means. It will help us to understand the Bible regardless of the meaning we want to give to this term. So let's do this replacement. Indeed, to be more precise, when we find God the Almighty, we put El Shaddai. So we also avoid translating the word El with God, because this too is an uncertain translation. And now let's listen to Paul. In the meantime, I send you my greetings from Italy. Hi, Paul.
Ciao Mauro. Davvero mi sto godendo la nostra collaborazione. And I really enjoy the way you shine light on these ancient texts and these questions of translation. It opens up a whole new realm for people to explore. Now, this time around, we're looking at the concept of Almighty God and the word El Shaddai. Now, for ages, believers have wrestled with the idea of Almighty God. Now, I've said in other places how I really like how the Apostle Paul defines God in a speech he gives to a non-religious audience in Athens in Acts 17, where he describes God as the source of the cosmos and everything in it, that in which we all live and move and have our being. And personally, I like that explanation of what God means. But through the ages, religious thought has run with another conception of God, conceiving of God as a very powerful entity or an almighty being. And that conception of God has thrown up some problems for believers, because if God is a being, if God is an almighty entity, then why doesn't God fix all the problems? Why doesn't God divinely magic everything better when that's what's needed? And those are the kinds of questions, the questions of suffering, that believers have wrestled with through the ages. And it's thrown up by this conception of God as an almighty being. Now, this time around, we're looking at the name El Shaddai. And when you come across that word in English translations, what you usually find is the Almighty or Almighty God. And so everywhere this name occurs, this conception of an almighty being is repeated and reinforced. Mauro and I are arguing that that is not the correct translation of this name, that it doesn't mean God and it doesn't mean Almighty God. Last time, you remember when we looked at Yahweh, Mauro mentioned this moment when Pope Benedict XVI sent around a communication to the Catholic world telling Christians not to use the name Yahweh in Christian prayers and liturgies, because he said it is not a Christian name for God. Now, just pause and think about what the Pope was telling us there. Now, Pope Benedict XVI was probably the most conservative Pope in my lifetime, and yet he's saying something very, very radical. Yahweh is not a Christian name for God. Now, you could take that in two ways. He could be saying it's not a Christian name for God, it's a Jewish name for God. But what's the issue there if it's the same God that we're worshipping? Is he saying that it's not a name for God at all? And that was the conclusion we came to last time. Now, the name Yahweh in the scriptures as we have them, and we're talking about the final redaction of the Hebrew scriptures made sometime in the 6th century BCE, that redaction puts Yahweh and El Shaddai alongside each other as names for the same entity. They are very closely associated. But what does El Shaddai mean? I'm going to argue that El Shaddai does not mean God, and it does not mean Almighty God. You find it translated that way in English translations. In Spanish translations, it is Dio Todopoderoso, which means God the all-powerful, the God who can do anything. In French, it's l'Éternel. In Italian, it's l'Eterno. But what does it mean? I'm going to argue it doesn't mean the eternal, and it doesn't mean the almighty. It's another word translated as God that shouldn't be. So far, we've seen Elohim, Elion, Yahweh, and today El Shaddai do not mean God. Perhaps like the word Yahweh, El Shaddai has made a journey through the Hebrew scriptures that it comes to be used to mean Almighty God, but in the beginning it meant something else. So let's go back to the beginning, back to where we first come across this name in Genesis 17. And when Abram was 99 years old, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said, I am El Shaddai. Walk before me, before my face, and be blameless. And I will make my covenant between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly greatly. So there we have the writer equating Yahweh with El Shaddai. Yahweh appeared and said, I am El Shaddai. Remember, though, that the name Yahweh was not revealed until the time of Moses. in an age far later than the age of Abraham. So what's Yahweh doing in the text at all? Well, again, this is a clue that we are reading not the original telling of the story. Someone after the time of Moses who knew the name of Yahweh is retelling this story using the name that was later revealed. And it's being done to glue Yahweh into the text so that the reader perceives Yahweh as being involved from the very beginning. And this point is made emphatically in Exodus chapter 6, verse 3, where the text says this: God spoke to Moses and said to him, I am Yahweh. To Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I appeared as El Shaddai, but I did not make my name Yahweh known to them. So there the redactor is explaining what the post-Moses name is doing in the pre-Moses text. And he is equating these two names. He's saying this is the same entity. Yahweh and El Shaddai are two names for the same entity. Now, last time we saw that Yahweh really was an entity, not God. So what is the case with this name, El Shaddai? Now, I'm going to go to the footnotes in the New Jerusalem Bible because they're rather interesting. I take my hat off to the New Jerusalem Bible. I love the transparency with which it tackles some of the translation issues around the names for God. And in the study editions, the editorial notes and the footnotes are really very, very useful. The senior editor, Dom Henry Wansborough, was very helpful to me when I was doing my research for my book, Escaping from Eden. And that is not to associate him with my conclusions. I'm in no way saying he endorses everything I say, but he was very helpful pointing out some of the journeys that these words may have made through time and what the original meanings may have been. So let's go to the footnotes over the appearance of El Shaddai in Genesis 17, the first mention. Joe, how you doing today? It says, El Shaddai, an ancient divine name of the patriarchal period, preserved mainly in the priestly tradition. See Exodus 6:3, which we just read. Rarely used outside the Pentateuch, except Job. The usual translation, Almighty God, is inaccurate. There it is inaccurate. The meaning is uncertain. God of the mountain, from the Akkadian Shadu, has been suggested, but perhaps God of the open wastes would be preferable. From the Hebrew, Shadeh, and it is the secondary meaning of the Akkadian word. It seems to have been a divine name brought from Upper Mesopotamia by the ancestors of the race. So the editors of the New Jerusalem Bible are saying that this name, El Shaddai, suggests a powerful one with a regional jurisdiction, a powerful one of the mountains or a powerful one of the plains, of the open wastes. Now, is there any kind of a framework that would make sense of that? Yes, there absolutely is. Because as we've seen before, there are a plethora of powerful entities in the Hebrew scriptures bumping up against each other in competition for resources and hegemony. And they do have geographical bases. So we have the El of Egypt, Achech. We have the El of the Amorites. We have the El of your ancestors when they lived in Mesopotamia. We have the El of Ekron, and that crazy competition between Yahweh and the El of Ekron, the powerful one of Ekron. There's a moment in Daniel chapter 10 when Michael, the powerful one, the warrior, shows up and says, I had a terrible time getting here because I had to go into battle with the powerful one of Persia. And so they're all associated with geographical areas. So if you've got El of Ekron, El of Persia, it would make sense. We might have El of the mountains or El of the plains. Is there anything else that would reinforce that reading? Yes, there is. But before we go there, I want to go back to this first encounter between Abraham, or Abram as he's then called, and El Shaddai, and find out what's going on there. He has this encounter, and Yahweh/El Shaddai says to Abraham, walk before me, walk before my face, and be blameless. But who's blaming? Nobody mentioned blame. What the entity is saying, walk before me and don't do anything wrong in my sight. Walk before me and don't put a foot wrong. And so I think the idea that God requires perfection of us, which has been sown into so much of our religion, the root of that lies here in Abraham's relationship with this entity, El Shaddai, who says, walk before me and don't put a foot wrong, don't make any mistakes. But again, we've seen this is actually not a conversation with Almighty God, it's a conversation with an entity. Walk before me and be blameless. And so there is that shadow in the relationship there, which I think reflects in the shadow in our concept of God through the ages. He then does make a promise, and he says, I will multiply you exceedingly greatly. And this promise follows on through the story of the Hebrew Scriptures. So let's go to the next occurrence of the name El Shaddai. The next occurrence is in Genesis 28, when Isaac invokes the blessing spoken over his father Abraham as a blessing over his own son Jacob. And he says this, and Isaac called to Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said, take yourself a wife from there, from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother, and may El Shaddai bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you. So this relationship with a promise between Abraham and El Shaddai is being invoked over his family line.
There is more than meets the eye with the terms El, translated into English as God, Yahweh, translated as the Lord, and Elohim, also translated as God. Today, these terms are all equated. Most people accept these meanings without looking for the meaning themselves, which is a monumental mistake. The Hebrew word Elohim means the God of gods, not of man. Elohim is often used as part of some compound titles for God in the Hebrew text, not originally Hebrew or even unique to God. We are told, but do we listen? Listen carefully. The term is found much earlier in history. El officially meaning mighty or strong one. The word Elohim or Elohim is a grammatically plural noun for gods or deities, or various other words in biblical Hebrew. Im from Mematim is plural, which in turn is derived from Malachi. Akai is also plural, in turn a variation of Anunnaki. The component Im refers to clay tablets. For example, Im do good, which officially means to be defined, to be cognate with I am. the meaning I render.
The forming and creating of beings by the Elohim, the eons, or time spirits. We have pointed out that in the Genesis account of the coming into being Earth, there is first of all a recapitulation of those earlier stages of evolution, which can only be reached today through clairvoyant investigation, which is what we recognize as the source of our anthroposophical world outlook. If we recall what we have learned about the conditions of evolution in periods prior to the existence of our Earth circumstances, we can picture that what later became our solar system was all contained in a planetary existence which we call ancient Saturn. And we keep very firmly in mind that...
Hello, my friend, Vlog, Boo Win. Thank you for dropping in, love.
Ancient Saturn consisted solely of the interweaving movement of warmth. If anyone from the standpoint of modern physics wants to raise any objections to my speaking of a cosmic body consisting solely of warmth, I must refer him to what I said 2 days ago.
I'm doing well, love. Thanks for asking. I hope you're well.
That I myself could raise all the objections of so-called science against the things said here today or at any other time. But there is really not the time in these lectures to touch on what this gullible modern science has to say. Compared with the sources of spiritual scientific investigation, the whole range of what has come from modern scientific knowledge seems pretty amateurish. I intend one day to deal with some of the objections raised, probably beginning next spring at the time of my lectures in Prague, when I shall be speaking not only about the whole basis of anthroposophy, but in order to satisfy contemporary minds, also about the arguments against it. Therefore, my Prague lectures will be preceded by 2 public lectures, of which the first will be entitled, How Can Anthroposophy Be Refuted? And the second, How Can Anthroposophy Be Substantiated? Later on, I shall repeat these lectures in other places, and people will then see that we ourselves are fully aware of the objections which can be made against what is taught in anthroposophy, and can say it all ourselves. Anthroposophy has a firm foundation, and those who think they are able to refute it do not yet understand it. This will be adequately shown in the course of time. As to Saturn's state of warmth, let me once more draw attention to several observations in my book titled An Outline of Esoteric Science, which may even help to satisfy those who are prompted by their scientific training to make objections. Having said this, I feel free to resume speaking about anthroposophy without further reference to objections, even the well-meant ones. In ancient Saturn, then, there was an interweaving of varying states of warmth. Let us visualize this very clearly. According to Genesis, there is a repetition within the developing Earth of this ancient Saturn state, this interweaving of warmth of fire. This is the first thing in the development of the elements that we want to picture. But note well in what way
people have superpowers. Would you believe if we say this is true? This statement is something debatable and yet something that other people hold true.
Philosophy is a mode of life, an act of living, and a way of being. Modern philosophy has forgotten this tradition, and philosophical discourse has all but overtaken philosophy as a way of life. Philosophy is not just an intellectual discipline, which can get abstract and divorced from the real world, but is most importantly a way of life that teaches us how best to live our lives. A carpenter does not come up to us and say, "Listen to me speak about the art of carpentry," but makes a contract for a house and builds it. So must we, when confronted with life, put our knowledge into practice, and not be like those who devour books and can astonish others by their skill in argumentation, but who, when it comes to their own lives, contradict their own teachings. Philosophy is a mode of existing in the world, which has to be practiced at each instant, and the goal of which is to transform the whole of the individual's life. Real wisdom does not merely cause us to know, it makes us be in a different way. The goodness of our lives depends on our soul, in which we can make good use of other valuable things, such as health, pleasure, happiness, tranquility, and so on, which can make a real contribution towards a good life. By contrast, a bad soul will create bad desires, bad choices, and the misuse of potential goods. Thus we spiral down a bad life, characterized by vice. The condition of the soul is entirely a matter of developing and understanding fundamental truths about human nature, and as a consequence of those, about the nature of what is valuable for a human being. If we fulfill our nature by pursuing a virtuous life, our soul remains in a healthy state, enabling us to live a good and happy life. Even if we experience suffering, pain, loss of goods, or failure, what concerns external and bodily goods do not diminish the quality of our lives at all, for these are ever changing. Bad things will always happen to us, as if they constantly move in the outer rim of the circle of life. However, virtue puts us back in the strong foundation of the center of the circle, where the soul resides. But people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. French philosopher Pierre Hadot's works, Philosophy as a Way of Life and What is Ancient Philosophy, are an excellent introduction to ancient Greco-Roman philosophy. Hadot emphasizes the importance of what he calls spiritual exercises, which go beyond simply exercises of thought or moral exercises. Rather, they correspond to a transformation of our vision of the world and to a metamorphosis of our personality. These exercises do not only have an ethical value, but also an existential one. The notion of spiritual exercises in ancient philosophy is meant to emphasize, first and foremost, that in the ancient schools of thought, philosophy was a way of life. The lesson of ancient philosophy consisted in an invitation for each person to transform himself or herself. Philosophy is conversion, transformation of the way of being and the way of living, the quest for wisdom. Wisdom is conceived as an ideal, after one strives without the hope of ever attaining it. The only state accessible to man is philosophia, the love of, or progress toward, wisdom. With spiritual exercises, philosophy becomes not a theoretical construct, but a method for training people to live and look at the world in a new way. It is an attempt to transform mankind. Exercise corresponds to the Greek term ascesis, which must not be understood as asceticism, that is, complete abstinence or restriction in the use of food, drink, sleep, and continence in sexual matters. It is the practice of spiritual exercises, inner activities that allow not for self-denial, but for self-transcendence. A spiritual exercise depends not so much on the nature of the activity as on the way it is undertaken, with what attitude and method, and with a view to which goal. It requires a complete attention to and focus upon an activity, and implies immersing oneself so completely in the matter at hand that one forgets oneself, much like what is known as a flow experience. To take flight every day, at least for a moment, which may be brief as long as it is intense. A spiritual exercise every day, either alone or in the company of someone who also wishes to better himself. Spiritual exercises. Step out of duration. Try to get rid of your own passions, vanities, and the itch for talk about your own name, which sometimes burns you like a chronic disease. Avoid backbiting. Get rid of pity and hatred. Love all free human beings. Become eternal by transcending yourself. The word spiritual reveals the true dimension of these exercises. By means of them, the individual raises himself up to the life of the objective spirit, that is, to become eternal by transcending yourself. The spiritual progress of philosophy towards wisdom brings about peace of mind, inner freedom, and cosmic consciousness. These three essential aspects of the philosophical way of life all require the practice of ascesis in order to be attained. Spiritual exercises, which are mostly present in the Hellenistic school of philosophy, are not to be confused with those of Spanish theologian Saint Ignatius of Loyola, who wrote Exercitia Spiritualia, consisting of a series of Christian meditations, contemplations, and prayers. Christianity also adopted spiritual exercises in order to fortify, maintain, and renew life in the spirit, the vita spiritualis, or spiritual life. Spiritual exercises are part of a lifestyle that engages the whole existence. It is the art of living. Ado writes, the philosophical act is not situated merely on the cognitive level, but on that of the self and of being. It is a progress which causes us to be more fully and makes us better. It is a conversion which turns our entire life upside down, changing the life of the person who goes through it. It raises the individual from an inauthentic condition of life, darkened by unconsciousness and harassed by worry, to an authentic state of life, in which he attains self-consciousness, an exact vision of the world, inner peace, and freedom. One difference between modern philosophy and ancient philosophy is that one did not just become a philosopher because one had developed a philosophical discourse. Rather, any person who dedicated his whole being to living a particular kind of philosophical life without the need of writing nor teaching was every bit as much of a philosopher as those who developed, researched, or founded a philosophy. Ancient philosophy proposed to mankind an art of living. By contrast, modern philosophy appears above all as the construction of a technical jargon reserved for specialists. For Ado, philosophy as an art of living can be traced as far back as Socrates, born in the 5th century BC, and considered as the founder of Western philosophy. Socrates started a new shift in philosophy as the pursuit and love of wisdom applied to daily life. Though the work of the natural philosophers or pre-Socratics were essential to the development of classical Greek philosophy, it was Socrates who taught us how we ought to live, and therefore that we need first and foremost to consider moral questions. Socrates never wrote anything, and questioned everything ordinary people took for granted, or left unquestioned. He would walk around the streets of Athens and ask others to explain seemingly simple concepts, such as friendship, justice, piety, and courage, only for the interlocutor to realize that he did not know how to explain them, or would contradict himself. The Oracle of Delphi stated that Socrates was the wisest person in Athens, but Socrates believed he was wiser than others because he was the only person who recognized his own ignorance. Unlike the sophists, who would trade wisdom for money and would speak for their own benefit, Socrates would never accept money and would speak to the benefit of the interlocutor. He taught people to listen to their conscience, the inner voice that tells one what is truly right, and if one doesn't know what to say, one should keep asking questions to oneself and others until one finds out. An answer is worth nothing unless it comes from one's own thinking. It is the process of philosophical thinking that counts at least as.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel with a weekly message, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter regarding love. It is a general message, and so this may or may not resonate with you. If it doesn't resonate with you, I do encourage you to check out other signs in your chart. As we know, tarot's energy is fluid, and so this could be past, present, or future, and this could play out from the perspective of the cross watcher. It could be vice versa, reverse, flipped, etc. So place yourself wherever it resonates, only if it resonates to your situation. Okay. Overall energy for you, we have the 10 of Cups, and this talks about, what did it say on the card? You're happily ever after. So there is something that you are going to accomplish in the month of August that makes you feel really good. You know, the 10 of Cups, it is peace, love, and harmony. It's having your happily ever after with your family. Okay, this could be you spending time with family, friends, and loved ones, accomplishing some sort of dream, goals here, but being just really, really happy and content. Under that, you have the Knight of Swords. And I feel like you're determined to find that happiness. Okay, you're determined to find that wish fulfillment or whatever it is that you desire in the month of August. I feel like you're super determined, you're passionate, and you're intentional about going toward whatever that is. I have the Empress under this, and you're all about manifesting and creating, I feel, in the month of August. Again, I do feel like you've gone through something that was very difficult. However, it's not going to tear you from pursuing what you dream of, what you truly desire and want.
Hi Leo, what's up? Okay, Leo. Leo, let's see what. I'm sorry. Okay, Leo, let's see what is this week bringing up for you, right? Okay. Leo, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Reverse the roles if needed. Switch the cases. Let's dive in. Leo. TikTok. Sitting on a ticking time bomb. Whenever I see this card, it's just wait for it. Just wait for that moment, and things will be different. Things will be different. Time for a nap. I see somebody you're dealing with is silent right now. Very silent, speaking very less, taking a nap. This person is unavailable at the moment, or it's just that they're healing from something and they're just not available. TikTok. This is like, okay, wait for the moment, wait for the clarity to come in, wait for the tower to fall. Something is going to happen on the divine timing, and it's not going to be, I'm just feeling it's going to be very soon, sooner than you think. All right, Leo. So let's see what messages show up for you, Leo. Nine of Pentacles. You're acting as if you don't care, and then the truth comes in, and you're like, okay, I'm ready for it. Beautiful. For a lot of you, I see that energy where you have started caring less for something now. You were, or you used to care a lot at some point, but now you're more or less emotionally unavailable. And this is that breaking point. You don't care, but from caring less to totally becoming carefree. Okay. So Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Let's see what messages come through for you, Capricorn. All right. Let's start. Oh, Two of Cups, Ace of Swords. The truth about a connection comes out, and then you're a little disappointed that things were so unfair, but the connection is strong. So let's see. That's very interesting. Capricorn. Star. Aquarian energy here. For a lot of you, this is some positivity getting instilled in a partnership, in a relationship, or in your current situation. I see you filled with hope. I see you filled with a lot of positivity. Yes, I see. For some of you, I'm picking up that, I'm getting a very beautiful energy for you. You are healing, you're recovering, you are in the growth zone. I won't say exactly ascending, but yes, I see you in the phase where something terrible has happened in the past.
This
It's
Sacred
gone, it's
Sun
over.
Tarot.
And you are in
The
that
link to her
phase
channel is
of
in the chat.
recovery, healing, nurturing yourself, getting prepared for the growth. It's the process before you start ascending. It's the feeling, it's the energy before you start ascending. And when you feel from within, you feel like feeling others also. When you're feeling positive from within, you feel like giving positivity to others also. And something on that front is happening here. I'm picking up a very positive energy for you, Capricorn. It's like, okay, I want to clear my accounts. I want to clear all the amendments. I want to make amendments to all those with whom I had some issues. I see a new journey, a new beginning about to happen in your life. Something new, something fresh is happening. A new life cycle, a new journey, or simply some positive shift is happening in your life. And it's like, I want to clear all the accounts. I want to apologize to those whom I need to apologize, and I'm going to forgive all those who, who did something to me. I just want to start afresh, a clean slate. And then there is somebody who's waiting on to you, Capricorn. This person is waiting to hear from you. This person is waiting for you to open up. Somehow this person knows that they've invested a lot in you, and you're going through a process, and they're trying to be supportive and patient here. I see this person can see that you are maturing emotionally. It's a slow process, and they're standing by your side. Oh boy, yeah. You're making a decision here, and a lot of happiness is coming your way, Capricorn. Again, the cards are so positive. They're so beautiful. I'm picking up a very soothing energy here, right? Sun, see, bottom of the deck. In past, I do see some steps were taken, and you were unhappy of because of them. But uh, I feel that you're making a decision to try something again, and for that, you will have to clear a lot of things. So you're clearing a lot of things so that you can give a chance to something, a genuine effort to something, and you'll be very happy. You're very happy about it. This person wants to open the lines of communication with you. They want to invest. But their energy is okay. Let Capricorn come. I cannot initiate the conversation. I'm so dying to talk to Capricorn, but I cannot initiate the conversation. If you say hi, I'm going to say, hey, hi, how are you? How have you been? I've been missing you. What were you doing since so long? You know, you're just a simple hi can trigger this person so much, but they are just waiting for that one hi. And they're silent. High Priestess is showing me that this person, High Priestess with the Seven of Pentacles, they know that you've been through something. You've been through a process, and this person is so beautifully supportive that they are not. If you're wondering why this person is not initiating, and possibly for a lot of you, I'm picking up that you're not even wondering why this person is not initiating. Maybe you have had this conversation with them in the past that okay, once I'll be in that mode, I'll be back, or I need some space, or something on that front. I'm picking up. This person is just waiting for the communication line to open, and they're going to invest much more than you. Six of Pentacles, their effort is going to be so high. They're just waiting for that one communication, and they intuitively know things are going to happen that way. Now, you might feel that, if I analyze the connection, there's somebody, for a lot of you, I'm not picking up adamants here. It's just, I am not even picking up ego, honestly. Knight of Cups is their bottom of the deck. I take it in the reverse position, so I'm feeling that the confession is not taking place. The confession is not taking place. Who is going to confess? Who is going to initiate? Do not let this beautiful energy turn into an ego conflict or an ego clash, Capricorn, because I see you both have this on your mind. You both want to talk. This person is patiently investing, patiently waiting. Let's see your energy here. Tower, Empress in the reverse position, and Queen of Cups. For a lot of you, for someone specific, I'm picking up parents issue, parental issue, something on the front of somebody's I see might be yours. I'm picking up maybe somebody's mother is not supportive of this thing. I see you very emotional here. For a lot of you, I'm picking up that something has happened in your life and you felt that you were out of growth trajectory. You were not on the page of, on the path of growth or something. Because of some reasons, I see some tower moment has taken place or something is happening here, very unexpected thing from the parents' side. That's making you very emotional. For a lot of you, this is coming from a parent or a boss. And I'm going to clarify what is this tower moment. Something is definitely not right here. But you're coming out of cold energy, coming out of this energy here. Eight of Swords, Five of Pentacles. The good thing is that you've decided to come out of this energy. I'm going to clarify what is this tower moment. This might be a game changer in this situation. Unexpected shift, an unexpected twist. Oh boy, yes. Four of Swords. Lovers. They love you. I don't have anything else to say. Love is Two of Cups. The attraction for you has been very strong. The love for you has been very strong. They're silent. I do see this person has the opportunities and choices, but for a lot of you, every time they get a chance, I'm getting this energy that every time I get a chance, I'm going to choose you. That's so deep. I do see King of Wands in their surroundings, or they can be third-party influencers. They have opportunities, yes. But again, they have invested so much here. I don't think this person is actually looking anywhere else. They're just silent and holding back because they want you to be in that best form so that you can be together. All right. Queen of Pentacles, Taurus, but this is you. This is you. I see influences on your front, Capricorn. There are
Mhm.
people who are influencing this connection. There are a lot of influences on your front. And let's see more. Let's see more. Nine of Pentacles, see? Carefree, independent. I see the way you both portraying or project what you're projecting on each other is very carefree and independent. I don't care. Is ego killing this connection, Capricorn? Is that the thing? You're emotional, but you're trying to act very stable. They love you and they're acting okay, I don't care. I'm emotionally unavailable because you're not looking there. What is this going on? Let's see, where is this thing heading? See, Chariot. If you decide to work things out, it can definitely go in a very beautiful direction. And Ten of Wands in the reverse position. Who needs to lay down the burden? Who is carrying the baggage? This person is acting independent because they want you to initiate. And this is like defense mechanism if you are aware of it. Okay, I want this person to reach out to me. Okay, I want this person to be available for me. And if they're not doing that, okay, I don't care.
Mhm.
You get me there. So, yes, open communication is needed here. Open and honest communication is needed because this can definitely go in a very positive direction. Look at the Chariot and the Star as the overall energy of this connection of the situation. Definitely go in a very positive direction. What is this Page of Cups? Six of Wands in the reverse position. For a lot of you, I'm picking up that Seven of Pentacles here bottom of the deck. You might have been dealing with somebody. Okay, what is this energy? What is the Six of Wands in the reverse? Truth. You're getting the truth about conflict. Okay. There's some sort of conflict going on in your life. I don't know whether it is with a third party or it is a family thing because I'm picking up parents also, where you feel the truth comes out, the clarity, you get the clarity and you realize that, okay, this is not my thing. I don't feel the growth and victory here. You're very humble though, and I do see apology. You might be getting an apology from that front also, that it's not growing, it's not happening, it's causing conflict. I'm sorry. Somebody might be coming in to apologize for a conflict they created in your life. It can be a third party, it can be parents, it can be anybody. I'm not saying that it's romantic. I'm not picking up romantic as if. Okay, Hermit. Now this person is losing hope. There can be a worker you're dealing with, lovers in the reverse position. This person is somehow, because they have been patient and they're waiting for you, they're feeling that it's not gonna happen. And they're losing that, feeling that it's gonna work out. They're not losing the attraction, they're just losing that patience that the connection is gonna work out. Losing hope sort of energy here. Six of Pentacles. I see you realizing that I will have to invest a little more now. And Six of Pentacles on your front, Six of Pentacles on their front. You both are somehow realizing, you both are mirroring each other actually. You both are somehow realizing that we have to invest, we have to put in effort. But because of some reasons, you both are not doing that. And this person is just holding back in a feeling that I don't know, I need to wait. I need to wait for Capricorn to initiate. They're just waiting for you to initiate. Eight of Cups, see, they're becoming disheartened. They're losing hope. They're losing hope that you will reach out. Four of Cups, they're feeling very dissatisfied. It's like, they're just shutting down some things around them and they're sitting in this way that, okay, Capricorn is not going to reach out. Look at this. My God, Four of
Damn
Swords,
sure
Four of
ain't.
Swords, Four of Cups, Eight of Cups. Hermit. This person is going crazy. Capricorn, and they're just overthinking in their head that
All up
Capricorn
in
is
the
never
head
going to
rent
reach
free.
out, Capricorn is never going to put in effort, they're never going to initiate. They so want the communication lines to open up. Why is this adamance here? Ace of Cups, okay. Knight of Swords, Page of Swords. I see this new love offer on your side, and dealing with that situation is a conflict somehow. And this person is going crazy because somehow now they're aware or intuitively they know something is happening in your life, and this is actually messing up with their head. They love you, and because you're dealing with some mess here, can be a very dramatic love thing going on, And again, when I say love, it doesn't mean that you are in love with this person. Can be somebody who is showing interest, can be a new love situation, some new person showing up. Something new has started, and that's definitely creating a lot of drama in your life. And see, that situation is definitely causing a lot of emotional trauma here. Maybe it's very hard to turn somebody down. Maybe it's very hard to tell somebody that you're not ready for a relationship. You want to give a chance to somebody else. I see a very dramatic situation unfolding in your life. And because of that, you have to stay silent and you're not entertaining this person as much as you should or as much as they expect. This is causing a lot of mess here. And they're like, okay, I don't care. If you want to talk to her, if you want to talk to him, I don't care. I see some dramatic situation unfolding here. For some of you, it's like a parental thing. Your parents are asking you to meet somebody, go on a date. Maybe your parents are not accepting somebody at this time. Something on that front is possible here. Knight of Wands. Yeah, see, I don't think that you're actually letting it go. It's just commitment issues. This person wants something very serious, Capricorn. Nine of Pentacles, Ten of Pentacles. And if you are going to stay wishy-washy, if you are not making the decision, Knight of Wands on your front, this person is like, okay, I'm shutting down. I'm shutting down if Capricorn is not giving me the 100% here. Three of Cups, am I gonna date? See, it's like, again, the baggage is here. Somebody needs to let go of the baggage. If you're carrying a baggage, and if you're not able to give your 100% in the connection, or if you're not thinking like that, I don't know if you emotionally want to invest or not, but if you're not doing that, this person is like becoming emotionally unavailable. They're going to act as if I'm unavailable, but of course they are, because the strong love affection here. But this person is like, they're realizing that it has to be all or none. It cannot be a complicated situation. It cannot be a confusion, right? So Three of Cups, it's a possible reconciliation. You can go out, meet, date. But then if you're ready to lay down the baggage, things can definitely manifest between you and them. Okay, so let's see. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Messages. Time to go, Capricorn. You know that you will have to part your ways from somewhere. You cannot stay in the state of confusion now. Can be exactly, it can be okay, totally this person, or totally that person, or totally none of them. Whatever you decide, you will have to decide that you have to shut down one door, right? You have to conclude things. The person is ready to put in effort, go the distance, provided you initiate something. They're waiting for the initiation from you. All that letters, they're hiding their feelings beautifully here, right? And they might be acting that, okay, my life is good, I'm looking for other opportunities, I'm going on dates and everything, but no, it's not true. TikTok. And I see that this connection is sitting over a ticking time bomb. Something is going to happen. It's an unfinished symphony right now. Something is going to happen. Things are going to turn around. You both might have to come across each other and clear the debt, clear the account. And it's a possibility that somebody might try to manifest things again if you want that. Or otherwise, some things have to be cleared. Some business has to get over. That's not over. So you're just sitting on a ticking time bomb. I'm telling you, it's going to come around. So make up your mind what you truly want to do in this situation.